Regina Pats defenseman number 6, Reese Hamilton. How does that sound coming from a guy that grew up in Whitewood to say that you're a member of the Regina Pats?
Yeah, it's obviously pretty special. There was a time when I think I was 10, I played on the brick team, so that was also the Pats. So I think just coming back and playing with the older guys, it's pretty cool.
So playing on the team that is essentially your hometown team, I'm sure some of your friends, some of the guys you grew up playing with, are they asking your advice, your tips? Hey, what's it like?
Yeah, I think most of my buddies are in the league now, so it's kind of we all have some similarities. And then like Connor Bear, I've grown up with him my whole life, so to be on the same team as him, it's pretty special.
Tell me a little bit about what it's like being a Western Hockey League player. What is something that fans may not understand? Because you're a young man, you got lots of things going on.
Yeah, I think, when they see Western hockey players, it's kind of all about the hockey side. But I think there's lots of other things that come along with the league, like community work, and guys are still in school or in grade 11 and 12. So I think lots of people don't notice that outside of the rink. But yeah, I think that's it.
Tell me a little bit about that brick tournament and your hockey journey. So take me right up. You started hockey when and where, and how did you get here?
Yeah, I started hockey when I was 3 in Whitewood. I had my dad as my coach until I was about, I want to say 13. Then I decided to move to Edmonton and played with NAX there. And during that, I got the opportunity to play on the brick team. So I think I was 10 years old, got to play on Team SAS. So that was pretty cool with a couple of the teammates I have now. So it's been a full circle moment. It's pretty cool to be here now.
You were selected in the first round of the Western Hockey League draft by Calgary. What was that day like?
Yeah, it was pretty special. Leading up to the year, obviously, being from a small town in Saskatchewan, kind of the draft is the only thing that's on your mind. So when I heard my name get selected when I was at home on TV, it's obviously super cool. And yeah, it was probably one of the best days of my life up to this point.
Now, you were then moved from Calgary to Regina earlier this season, right before the big showcase game with the USA. What was that like?
Yeah, it was lots of mixed emotions. There's a lot going on at that time. With Calgary, we just finished getting off our US road trip. And then right after that, I got traded here. So I was in the middle of moving everything back to Regina, or closer to home, I guess. And then I played 2 games with the Pats and then had to go to Ontario and play in the CHL game, which was super cool. And then from there, flew to Kamloops and joined the Pats on the BC road trip. So it's nice to finally get settled in now. And yeah, it was a hectic time for sure.
So with the combined U.S. and BC division road trips, you're going to be a player in this league that'll have one of the most miles on them this year. What do you do to go ahead and pass the time?
Yeah, it's nice to, when teams are coming down to Regina and you say you haven't played, other guys haven't played them, it's nice to, be a little familiar with what the teams are like. So, obviously getting to play in BC and US, it was nice to, get out to the West. So, yeah, it's cool.
I had to double check my notes. 74th was the ranking in the NHL's mid-season rankings. Do you pay attention to that, or is there any way that you can avoid that?
Yeah, I try not to pay much attention to it. I think, in the end, it's kind of the scouts that are picking and not really the central scouting rankings. So I don't think many people pay attention to that except the players that are picked. So I kind of just tend to block it out, or try to anyway, and, continue on with the year.
If I have a bad day, generally there's not that many consequences, right? There might be somebody that says, oh, why didn't you do this, or what was the score in that? But for you, if you have a bad day, it can have some consequences. Does that bring with it pressure?
No, I don't think so. I think, if you're going to have a bad day, just tend to have a one-off and then get back to it the next day and, work even harder than you have been to, try show that you're consistent throughout the season. So I think that's just the biggest thing. I think one-off games aren't the end of the world as long as it doesn't keep on happening. And, I try not to get too much pressure on myself.
One pretty smart coach said, you can only control what you can control. How hard is it to control what's out of your control, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It is tough at some points. I think, obviously in your draft year you do put pressure on yourself. Some people say you don't, but in the end you really do. So I think just trying to cancel all the extra noise out and just play your game, and then at the end of the year or in June or whenever the draft is, everything will all pan out, and you'll be selected by a team hopefully going into the next year.
So if I was to throw it out there, a perfect day of hockey, right? Maybe you're 6 goals, 6 assists, plus 12, right? If I could, and you could tell me your perfect day that doesn't have anything to do with hockey, what would it be?
I think if it has, nothing to do with hockey, I think just getting up early, getting a workout in, kind of just feeling good about yourself, feeling like you accomplished stuff in the day. I think I'm still in school, so getting some school done, and nothing to do with hockey though, so just feeling good about yourself.
I think you might have just won an award as the perfect day just included school. We'll make sure we highlight that. But are there any hobbies outside of the rink?
I always enjoy golfing in the summertime, going to the lake with my friends and family. Got into pickleball this summer, not competitively, but I never really knew about it before, but I found it pretty fun, and I think I'll continue going with that too.
Anybody on the team that you'd want to square off with in a pickleball match, like just right now?
We have a ping pong table out in there too, so it's kind of similar. So I'd like to challenge some of the better ping pong players. Can't think of them off the top of my head though.
Take me through a day in the life of Reese Hamilton when it comes to game day.
Yeah, so I'd get up around, I want to say 9:45 or 9:30, I guess, be at the rink by 10. Sometimes morning skate, sometimes don't. And then say I'm at the rink for an hour or so, stretch and stuff, and then go home, have a nap, eat my pregame around 3:30ish, and then be at the rink by 4:30 and prepare for the game.
Chicken and tortellini for that pregame?
No, chicken and rice usually. Yeah.
And do you cook it yourself or no?
No, I don't. My billets cook it.
If I said, okay, you're on your own, well, you got to cook supper, what are you making?
I think I would still try, give it a shot, but I don't know. House might be burned down if I tried, so I'm not sure.
5 alarm, look out. So obviously your dad was a big influence, having coached you up through your minor hockey days. Who else has influenced you as far as the person that you are and the player that you are?
I think my dad's brother, he's influenced me quite a bit. He was in the Army for I want to say 10 years-ish, and I think he's taught me a lot about, resilience and stuff like that. So I think just taking little things from him. He was also involved in sports and then kind of continued on and wanted to join the Army. So I think he's pretty determined, and I want to be just like him as well.
When I was coaching my kids, they would look forward to that ride home from the rink with Dad. Good or bad, believe it or not. Do you still look forward to hearing from Dad after the game? Yeah,
I think that's never going to change. It's been something that's been with me for, I think, since I was 3, like I said before. He's coached me since then. So, I think always hearing from him is nice, and I think I see them quite a bit now that I'm in Regina. They're in Whitewood, so they don't have to plan their lives around coming up and taking a trip to Calgary. It's just kind of quick in and out to Regina, so it's nice to see my parents after every game now.
Last question is the hardest one always. Why do you wear number 6?
I was just given number 6. I mean, I guess you could say I've always been number 9 my whole life, so I guess switching it around. But when I was first traded here, I was just given number 6. So I guess I was number 6 in Team Canada events too. But even with that, I was just given number 6. So it's nice to switch it around, I guess.
There you go, Reese. A pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.